My name is Stella. I'm owner and chief editor of Ladies Drive, a business sisterhood community based here in Switzerland. And I'm so honored and happy that I have a woman at the top from our very first YouTube video on Ladies Drive YouTube channel here with me. It's Natalie Robyn. She's managing director of Volvo Cars Switzerland. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Sandra. It's an honor to be here with you as well.
I'm so happy to have you here.
It's a pleasure for me.
So you just turned 40. I think we can share that with the audience.
Yes.
And she's, as mentioned, managing director of Volvo Cars Switzerland. And she's half American, half Spanish. That's why we're doing this interview in English.
Yes, thank you.
Let's go back a little bit in time before we will ask for the question about your role, your current role at Volvo Cars Switzerland. What is the scent of your childhood days?
The scent, the smell.
Yes. Can you remember?
Well, I had a pretty, as I mentioned before, I have a mix of Spain and the US. I lived in both places, back and forth, in South America a lot, Central America, near the Caribbean. So one of the scents that I recall very much, my family was very much into water activity, water sports, is of course the smell of the ocean, the salty smell. But also of the farm where my mother's side of the family comes from in Spain, which is, farm smells. We all know what those are, but a bit of the country. And so I have outdoors, because we were quite more spending time outside and did a lot of activities outside. So I have maybe a combination of these two smells, if I would have to define.
And what was the sound of your
sound? Well, I would say a bit of both. When you just said that, the thought of laughter popped into my mind, because I had a really nice childhood, and I had really nice memories, and we traveled a lot, and we explored the world a lot, and we had a good time. So of course one of the sounds is laughter, but yes, the sounds of the sea, the sounds of the country are a bit of what I remember from my childhood too. Yeah.
And you studied in New York, right?
I studied university in upstate New York. Yeah.
What did you study?
I studied international relations, which is a combination of economics and political science.
And what was your first paid job after university?
Investment banking. So
goodness.
So I moved from New York. I flew over to the West Coast and jumped in a bit to the Silicon Valley world in San Francisco, and was working with what they call storage infrastructure data networking companies, which are like the Cisco type companies of big servers, which were just beginning to be established back then in 2000. So I worked for Bank of America Securities in equity research, and was there for a couple of years before I decided to go and get my MBA and go more into the operational side of business.
Then you came to Europe, right?
I started my MBA in the United States, and then did finish the studies and started my assignments also here in Europe. Yeah.
So you started quite early to work in the car industry. That's now for quite some years.
I did. Right as I was finishing my MBA, which I did quite early. I started my master's in business when I was about 22, I think, which was a bit early. So I was one of the younger students. And while I was there, I had the opportunity I was focusing strictly on international, which is a bit Europe, Americas, Asia, focused mostly on Europe and Americas at the time. And I had the opportunity to work with Delphi, which is an automotive supplier, in their European headquarters in Paris. So I took that as a MBA kind of management assignment, and that was my first taste into the automotive industry. And right from there, when I finished, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work for Daimler Chrysler at the time, when the companies were still together, and in the management training program that they had, and that was really when I started in automotive industry, and I've stayed since then.
And you've been in an international leading role in Göteborg for Volvo
for Volvo, I've been working now for about 4 years. Yes. And I was in Sweden for 2 years, working responsible for Central Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa markets. So that was quite a busy role, traveling quite a bit. And now here in Switzerland for about a year and a half.
How do you feel in this new position here in Switzerland?
Well, I don't feel so new anymore.
At the top.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel so new anymore. But as I mentioned before, I love Switzerland, so I was really fortunate to get this opportunity to come into a market. It's a bit, of course, we have the strategy of what we want to do with Volvo Cars in Switzerland, but it's also quite operational when you look at it from a corporate standpoint, to be managing a country and to be working with the dealers which are in the country. So coming into it, my first goal was to understand how Switzerland, the automotive industry, and how we were going to work here, and how Volvo was as a brand. And now I feel like I've understood that. Now I'm starting to work on the next steps of where we want to take Volvo as a brand. So that's why I say I don't feel so new anymore. But now I'm ready and looking more into the future of Volvo in Switzerland.
Before we talk about the future of mobility and your vision with Volvo Cars Switzerland, let me ask you about your best mistakes in your career.
Best mistakes in my career. Well, I mean, I guess I would say that I've committed several mistakes in my career. But I would, all encompassing, what I would say is not getting up fast enough after I make a mistake, and you tumble a little. So maybe you take a wrong direction and you fall, and you get reprimanded, or you recognize that wasn't the right way to go. And the most important thing is to get back up quick and try and do it again and figure out the right way. So I think I've had a couple instances where I took a while to stand back up and put my shoes back on and start marching forward. And so I would say that probably some of the best mistakes I made were just not going forward quick enough after they were done.
I read about your management style, because you were just mentioning being a manager. And I read that you have a modern and transparent management style.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds awesome, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
How would you describe it yourself?
Well, I like to work in quite a flat organizational structure, which means that in my case, the decisions that I make for my organization are usually done together with my management team. We spend a lot of time together. I like to listen and learn from the team. I have an outstanding team here who have a lot of experience, who give me a lot of sound knowledge, advice. So we work together, and we work as if this is our company. And so the way we try and work is really transparent amongst each other. It's not just me. You also need the trust of those around you to work in the same way. And so we have common goals, and we agree on the goals, and sometimes we disagree. And when we disagree, we have to have open discussions where people feel comfortable enough to disagree, or where people feel comfortable enough to say, well, I think maybe that's not the right direction. Maybe we should talk about it for a while. So we do spend a lot of time talking about that. And it's really important for me that people feel good, that they like their job, that they feel safe, because I think that's when you get a lot of good output as well. I don't like management by fear, and I don't agree with it. But I also think it's important to have fun. So we try to have fun also when at our office and within my management team and within the colleagues I work with, because we spend a lot of time together, and we've got a lot of ambitious goals ahead of us, and we've got a lot of peaks and valleys that we're going to go through, and we got to have fun at the same time. So, the power of a good laugh or some jokes along the way, or to be able to take a breather and to say, okay, let's do something fun. Let's try and look at something in a different way. That to me is really important, and I value that a lot. So I think that's maybe a bit my management style. What when you say modern and transparent, it's maybe a bit different. So maybe a bit different for those when they come into my management meetings or into my office sometimes. But it's the way I like to work, and so far it's effective for me and my organization.
You mentioned two words. We are like thinking in my ears still. It's trust and it's safety. Yeah. You mentioned these words in such fast-moving and disruptive times. Yeah. These are big words. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no question about it. The industry is moving very, very quick. I read a quote the other day that I like that's saying today it's almost
like driving while you're trying to change the fan belt in the car at the same time, because everything's happening simultaneously. If the folks that are around me, if the people that are around me that are trying to change and are trying to move and adapt to the future and bring what we're trying to do, which is very competitive, which is quickly trying to readjust and change and stay ahead of the game, if they're not feeling comfortable, if they're not feeling safe in their roles, if they're not feeling like they can trust me or that I can trust them, then I only see that as a break. I only see that as a blocker or as a chance to steer somewhere else. So for me, that is important. You know, safe is a big word, as you said. We're all victims of or subject to our superiors and to our management, but Volvo is a unique company in which the employees are the key to what we're driving. We're focusing a lot on our people, and it's important for the company, and it's important very much for me and for my organization here in Switzerland that we have people that feel safe in the organization, with safety in terms of what they can project, where they can reach, what are those targets and objectives, what are the expectations, and what we see also as a whole. And I think we try to do that.
But you think it's really different within Volvo than within the structure or organizations of your competitors? Because
well, I've worked for a few different companies, and I think I do think that Volvo focuses more on some of these more human and people issues than some other car companies.
You were talking, or we were talking about disruption.
Mm-hmm.
The market has changed, the distribution has changed, the only channel, the whole channel structure has changed, the client has changed, their needs have changed. And even the production needs to change to be more agile in times like these, in fast-moving times. Do you think the car industry will be disrupted even more than at present, than with Dieselgate and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dieselgate is one interesting channel that I think is a bit different from all the rest of the disruption that we see. So Dieselgate is an unfortunate example of a scandalous time in the industry. The other disruptions that are happening are the competitors that are coming in to challenge the traditional automotive manufacturer, whether it be the mobility company, whether it be the online retailers. Those are the ones that are really disrupting the industry at this moment. New technology is really disrupting. And as you said, the customers who are now really digital customers as well. So everyone does their research online. We have to look at the connection between the online and the offline experience, because the offline experience still continues to be important. We see that. But
So you have omni-channel strategies as well?
Yes, we do. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's swim or sink. Yeah. It's swim or sink. So, you know, and Volvo has an advantage. I think you also mentioned before the ability to be agile or to change or so. Volvo is a small company. It works in an agile way, so we're a little bit more nimble than some companies, and we're trying to take a lot of what we see as some of those new technologies, new arenas, and trying to move ahead really quick. So we've done that a bit with electrification, with autonomous drive. You've seen some of the forefront coming from big, bold statements that have come from Volvo, and that's really where the disruption is. I see in the industry. I mean, the diesel side of it, you know, with the Euro 6 diesel that we have on our Volvo cars, we're pretty okay considering the new regulations and so, and I can stand pretty proudly behind and say that the scandal of the Dieselgate hasn't affected Volvo, but it has affected the whole industry, no question.
Then let's speak about innovations. We're talking about services now, not about products or motors, but services.
Well,
I mean, you have been quite innovative already in Switzerland with shopping experience, online shopping being placed in the back of your car without you being around, stuff like that. What kind of services you are planning?
Well, we for sure would expand on something like that. on the Volvo in-car delivery. Before we move on to services, we will have the umbrella products that come with the Volvo brand, which we know that are Polestar and Lynk & Co. and future other actual product solutions that will come. Now with the innovations we're going to continue to develop with our platform for Volvo On-Car, like the delivery, mobility solutions that we're looking at. So I think last week or the week before last, they announced M, which is the new mobility service from Volvo that will offer shared mobility, starting in Scandinavia, and then we'll see when it comes into some of the other Western European countries. We have Care by Volvo, which is a subscription service for vehicles. So we're looking, of course, at all sorts of alternatives that we can do that will offer our customers a bit more flexible type of ownership to the traditional ownership of
just buying it, because in Switzerland most of the cars are still bought with cash.
Yes.
Not even leased, but bought.
Yes. Yes. It's quite unique. Yeah.
It's quite unique.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But what do you plan? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, well, we'll have some alternative solutions like that. We do see that leasing is becoming a little bit more interesting, but you're right. Switzerland is a very kind of purchase upfront market. So we will have some subscription service offers. We will have some for the Volvo platform. We will have and subscription service that will also come with the umbrella brand that I mentioned before, that will come with Polestar, that will potentially come with Lynk & Co., which are partnership brands with Volvo. We will also have shared mobility, which will come also, that will be a bit, I think here it's maybe like mobility is what it's called, the red cars or so. So we'll have a
Cheru or...
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have solutions like these.
There's just one last question I have for you.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite song you like to hear while driving?
Well, I'm actually kind of a nerd, and when I'm driving, I'm listening to podcasts all the time. So I listen to...
At present?
At present, I'm listening to podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
Mostly National Public Radio, which is the news, because of what you mentioned before. There's a lot of global political interest happening in both the United States and Spain, which is my other nationality, but also within Europe. So I'm listening all the time to the news. Otherwise, I listen to certain podcasts like How I Built This, about entrepreneurs, which actually you might like, which is quite interesting. And I have a few favorite podcasts that I like to listen to. So I'm very rarely listening to music in the car. And I also listen to podcasts if I'm doing sports, which a lot of people make fun of me about. But if I listen to music, when I go home, I put music on. And I usually put a playlist from Spotify, like a coffee house, or I love Brazilian, like bossa nova, or I love, of course, Spanish guitar, and we put lots of different, I also love some of the American classics. I even love country music from the US. I love French music, so I'm really diverse. I'm really diverse in the music, but I mostly in my car, I'm listening to podcasts. And news.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was awesome talking to you.
Likewise.
Thanks for the time spent together.
It was an honor for me.
And we were absolutely looking forward, seeing more of Natalie Robyn. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you so much.